Welcome, everybody. I know it seems hard to think that it has been a year, but it is in fact June 1st yet again. And the most remarkable thing is this is really our unofficial kickoff to summer, the beginning of Pride Month. I want to thank you all for being here today, and I want to get us started with introducing our mayor for the city of Seattle, Mayor Bruce Harrell. He has a long history of civil rights and social justice activism and has been a real ally to our community. And so for our mayor, thank you for joining us this early morning. Mayor Bruce Harrell.
Thank you, Senior Deputy Mayor. I was, sorry, the last one to arrive. I was waiting for Senior Deputy Mayor Harrell. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? She's down there waiting for you. I have some very profound words to say, so profound that I wrote them down, and I don't want to riff at such an important event. Many of you know me, know I will riff and get carried away. Very excited with all of you to share our Seattle's 11th annual Pride flag raising day and to kick off the start of Pride Month with everyone here. We all know that our community here, and by that I'm saying LGBTQ plus, our community is a major part of what makes our city a unique, vibrant place to be. And I say our community because the key is inclusivity, loving each other. Pride is an opportunity to uplift the immeasurable contributions and achievements of this community in the present and honor the history of the LGBTQ plus rights movement in the past and work towards the equitable future that we want to see, the future that we have to fight for. Pride is more than just a parade or a festival or an opportunity to break bread with one another. It's a year-long experience that comes with many opportunities to support the LGBTQ plus community, from shopping at stores owned by LGBTQ plus members, their businesses, donating or volunteering community organizations and causes, and sadly recognizing, in terms of homelessness, youth, as an example, the disparities that the community still feels and endures. Places seeking to erase LGBTQ plus history from school curriculums or banning books that discuss sexual orientation or gender identity and restricting transgender people from healthcare that they deserve. Well, quite candidly, that will not happen here in Seattle. That is not what we welcome when we celebrate. We're just not doing that in Seattle, because we know that our diversity makes us stronger, and why we must send a clear message to our youth, to our adults. And when I say youth, I'm talking about me, not you old people, by the way. Because every month we see and we read about the stories where the discrimination is real. We see you, we support each other. You belong here, you are part of our DNA, we are one family. And when I talk about One Seattle, that's exactly what it means. In One Seattle, we stand as a welcoming city for all, and against a rising tide of hateful and discriminatory legislation directly targeting LGBTQ plus individuals, families, and children. Not here. By leading with our values, we're ensuring Seattle is a place where everyone's identity and contributions to our community are valued and respected. Our city will continue to fight to protect people's rights to live freely and as their authentic self. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Councilmember Morales, members of the Office of Civil Rights, the Seattle LGBTQ Plus Commission, and many of you community leaders here today as we recommit ourselves to making Seattle a place where every neighbor can be their authentic selves. And to me, that is Seattle at its best. That is the spirit and the letter of One Seattle. Thank you for being here with me. And now I'll turn it over to Councilmember Tammy Morales to proclaim it Pride Month in Seattle.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. He is way taller than I am. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to be here again to celebrate the flag raising today. When I started thinking about what I wanted to highlight this year, I thought about how I stood here last year in this same spot and gave a speech about the history of pride, about the rootedness in resilience and in pride and in resistance. At the time, the Supreme Court's ruling banning abortion had just been leaked, and there were about 300 bills across the country that were introduced attacking the LGBTQ community. It feels bleak to start on that note, but we saw almost 500 bills introduced this year, and so this fight is not over. We know that for sure. This is specifically attacking the trans community and particularly trans youth. From restricting healthcare access to outing kids to their families, banning student athletes who are playing on teams that match their gender identity. I know the past few years have been particularly demoralizing. We're seeing a drastic rise in hate against marginalized communities across the country, and it's important to note that here in Washington and even in Seattle, we are not fully immune to this. Just the other week, I was working with some neighbors just a few blocks away from where I live who were reporting homophobic crimes, a series of people who were beaten in my neighborhood who were assumed to be gay. And they were taken to the hospital, and we are still investigating what happened there so that we make sure that the people who did it are held to account. And I will say, like, this is really personal to me. I don't talk about this much, but my sister and her wife left Florida about 15 years ago because they were afraid that they would not both be granted parental rights for their daughter when only one of them carried her. So this is real, and it's still happening, and we have to make sure that we are standing firm against this kind of hate and make sure that we are protecting the legal rights of people to their children and to their families. My office and I meet regularly with young people in particular in the South End who are already exhausted by this world. We know that our young people are experiencing increased mental health issues and anxiety, and I know many of us are also feeling this. But then I remind myself, and my community reminds me, that hope is a discipline. Hope isn't an emotion. As Mariam Kaba reminds us, hope is hard work, and we have to practice it every day. So for me, this means knowing our values. It means acting in accordance with our values and fighting like hell for the liberation of our neighbors, the justice that Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and Ms. Major all held, and many others who fought before us. This means acknowledging that queer and trans liberation is housing justice. Queer and trans liberation is economic justice. And queer and trans liberation is healthcare justice. It's strong protection for workers, funding for culturally responsive youth mental health access, access to shelter and housing without discrimination, and it's a loud and vehement opposition to any attempt to further stigmatize our vulnerable populations for simply existing. So today I'm proud to be here in partnership with the LGBTQ Commission, with Mayor Harrell, with the City Council, in proclaiming this month, June 2023, Pride Month. And now I want to invite to the podium Lilliam Williamson, a member of our Get Engaged LGBTQ Commissioner, who will read the proclamation and present remarks as well. Thank you very much for being here, everyone.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman. Hello, my name is Lilliam Williamson. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here today on behalf of Seattle's LGBTQ Commission. Our commission serves as a liaison between the concerns of Seattle's LGBTQ community and the Mayor's Office, the City Council, and other forms of city government. I am honored to be here today to read the City of Seattle's LGBTQ Pride Month proclamation and then deliver some remarks. Whereas, Seattle is home to some of the nation's most active individuals and organizations working to ensure the full and equal recognition and protection of the fundamental rights and liberties of the transgender, lesbian, bisexual, gay, two-spirit, non-binary, queer individuals and their families. And Whereas the Seattle communities in Seattle are an integral and vibrant part of the academic, economic, and artistic social spheres of Seattle. And whereas the month of June was designated Pride Month to commemorate the Stonewall riots, a series of demonstrations led by Black and brown trans women occurring in June 1969 and generally recognized as the catalyst of the LGBTQ civil rights movement. And whereas over 45 years ago, Seattle held its first lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer celebration, an iconic event vital to our unified effort to forge a more open and just society. And whereas each June, Seattle encourages its residents to celebrate the progress within our culture towards justice, equity, and full recognition for LGBTQ persons, and join us in the fight to eradicate prejudice and discrimination everywhere. And now, therefore, the Mayor and Seattle City Council hereby proclaim June 2023 to be LGBTQ Pride Month. Thank you, and now I'll deliver some remarks. This past year has seen an increasing amount of direct attacks on the LGBTQ plus community. In the past year alone, there have been 540 anti-LGBTQ bills introduced in state legislatures, which is a record number. Of these, 220 specifically target transgender and non-binary people. 45 of these anti-LGBTQ plus bills have been enacted in laws so far this year. And most of these legislative attacks are centered on LGBTQ plus youth, especially youth of color and trans youth. Nationwide, lawmakers are attempting to deny queer youth health care, attacking their ability to participate in their communities, and denying them their fundamental rights to see themselves represented and to be affirmed for who they are. And this isn't something that's just happening in Florida or Texas or Idaho. Our communities are still under threat in Washington and in Seattle. It is incredibly important that we do not become complacent as a community and as a city. I spent the last few years leading youth groups and serving as a mentor to LGBTQ plus young people in Seattle. And I can tell you firsthand that we are not immune to the nationwide issues that the queer community faces. I regularly work with young people who are homeless, who can't access life-saving health care, and who endure systemic violence, and who struggle with behavioral health issues that they can't find treatment for. And as a young person myself, I see this play out in my community. As an LGBTQ community and as a city, we have a responsibility to uplift and to protect our youth. The LGBTQ Commission applauds the city on its work this last year for making our city safer and more accessible for the LGBTQ community, especially with its work in partnership with the King County's Health Through Housing program, which works to make housing more accessible to the LGBTQ community members who need it most. But we still call for further action to protect our community and our youth. We call on the city to invest in more affordable, high quality, and safe housing, and to invest in community-focused solutions to address public safety in ways that actually keep our communities safe. This means partnering with community organizations, supporting basic needs funding for things like food banks and behavioral health support. It also means not criminalizing homelessness. It does not mean sweeping houseless communities without providing them adequate housing resources. We urge the city to focus on restorative, non-punitive solutions to the behavioral health care crisis. And we ask the city to consistently and proactively partner with the LGBTQ plus Commission, which would demonstrate real commitment to the LGBTQ plus community. Seattle has a responsibility to uplift and take care of its LGBTQ community, especially its youth. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now it's my honor to introduce Taffy Johnson, Executive Director of UTOPIA, Washington.
Talafalava. Hello and happy Pride Month to everyone joining us today. My name is Taffy. I am representing United Territories of Pacific Islanders Alliance here in Washington. I hope that you are all feeling safe, healthy, loved, and supported. While we're celebrating Pride Month, we know there's still more work to do. As we've grown, so has our culture. A lot of changes. A lot has changed, and transitions have been difficult, and we faced a lot of them these past years with uncertainty. So Pride Month holds so many different things for many of us. Well, it's a celebration for most, and it should, right? But it's also a crucial time for remembering where we come from and all we have fought for. And it's also about coming together to honor, to celebrate, and support our two-spirit LGBTQIA+ community. I know and I recognize how difficult it has been for many of us during the pandemic, especially our queer and trans youth. The pandemic has altered our access to our loved ones, access to our chosen family, hosting our favorite events, our interests. The reality is that many of us had to hide our identities or suppress parts of ourselves for our own safety. Many have had parts of our identity invalidated or not celebrated, which contributed to issues like mental health. And this, on top of everything else, have caused emotional and familial problems, not to mention that it probably stressed you out in new and terrifying ways. Our trans youth lives have been disrupted in ways that most adults cannot understand, and for some leading to an increase in anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts. There's a lack of celebration for our trans youth, a lack of affirmation, visibility, and validation. Friends, please do not underestimate the power of visibility. There are still places in this country where we are being legislated out of existence. There are places where you can't say gay, which is really saying that it is not okay for us to be. To our trans youth, we love you. Despite every obstacle, you did the best you could. Even when you felt like you weren't, even when you were struggling to focus or remain motivated. I know being resilient can be exhausting, and I hope that you all found support when you needed it. And to everyone here, we will live loudly so that every trans, every queer youth, every LGBTQ member will know that there is a life ahead. These institutions of oppression may be able to deny the storm, but they cannot silence the wind. They will build walls and put us in cages, but we will tear them down. We are the future generations. Our trans babies are the future. Our queer babies need us. They will need your support. They will need you at every march, every protest, every event, every fight. But more than all of that, they need to see you. They need to see us living loudly. They need to see us thriving because it matters. Seeing you is a clear indicator to them that there is life beyond their current circumstances. They need to see us thrive. 365 days, not just in June, at Pride Month events, our queer and trans babies need to see us live. And so many LGBTQ family, be visible, be loud, be exactly who you are and all of who you are, because you are beautiful and it saves lives. Happy Pride, everyone. Please welcome my friend and colleague, Executive Director Stephen Sawyer of POCAAN.
Thank you, Taffy. Happy Pride, everyone. I want to say thanks to the City of Seattle, to Mayor Harrell and his team, to the Office of Civil Rights, as well as to the Seattle LGBT Commission for this invitation. The Pride movement has been a long-standing fight for equity and justice for the LGBTQAI2 Spirited Plus community. In the streets of New York on a late summer night in 1969, the first brick was thrown that launched the Stonewall Uprising, an uprising that marked a new turning point in the LGBTQ activism and liberation in the United States. But few recognize that the Black LGBT community also has been a part and been at the forefront of this Pride movement throughout history, including Stonewall leaders like Stoney Davalier, Marsha P. Johnson, Bernard Rustin, Gary Benaire, Alvin Ailey, James Baldwin, All challenge societal norms and inspire generations that follow to speak truth to power in our community. Their contributions have often been erased and downplayed in the mainstream narrative, but it's important for us to acknowledge their bravery and their resilience, standing up against police brutality and discrimination. And despite the disadvantages that they've had, we've seen the crucial fight advance in these few years past. In the intersections of race, gender, and sexuality has been made great movements and improvements. But the reality of it is there are still so many that are still plagued with injustice across the country. It's movements like the Black Lives Matter and Black Pride that have really come together to fight hate, and many of these hate bills that have been created that create more dangerous environments for our community. We see how these strides toward equity have not been shared by all of our members of the LGBT community. And today there is a rise in anti-LGBT bills, for non-binary bathroom laws to anti-drag bills. Racial disparities persist, with Black and brown LGBT individuals too often facing additional layers of discrimination and marginalization. As such, the new fight for equity in the LGBT movement must center on the comprehensive understanding of intersectionality. This means recognizing how different aspects of identity overlap and impact individuals' experience of oppression. It also means that acknowledging the ways in which white supremacy and anti-Blackness and the patriarchy have persisted in discrimination against LGBT people, particularly for those who are Black and brown and trans. Pride must be a celebration and a demonstration. We must celebrate with the events like today's flag raising and the upcoming Pride Parade, but we must continue to demonstrate and to unveil the need for a greater equity and equality in areas such as employment, housing, healthcare, education. Until we are all safe, no one is safe. Until we are all free to be our true selves, no one is free. As we continue to push forward toward progress in this fight for LGBT rights, it's critical that we center and uplift the voices from all communities, but especially for those who have historically been silenced. Thank you.
Listening to our speakers today, I am reminded of the saying, love is a verb. Love is a verb. It is an action. It is an act. It is something that we must do. It is not passive. When I think about Pride Month, what is the point of Pride Month? It is living your true self, your authentic self, living out loud. It is being forward with who you are in all of your glory and your full identity. In this year, 2023, we're going to stop giving out cookies. Allies no longer get cookies just for saying they stand with us. This is the year where demonstration and actions are what is important. This is the year where it is no longer acceptable to sit on the sidelines. We've had a couple years where we've been knocked down. We've dusted ourselves off, and now is the time for action. Love is a verb. If we love ourselves, if we love our community, this is where we take action. So on this June 1st, this is not the moment where we raise the flag and we let the symbol fly. It is, what are we going to do to put that love, that authenticity into action? How are we going to not just say to our youth, we love you, we support you, but what are we going to do to put boots on the ground to show them that they are worthy, that they have place, to show our elders they are worthy, they have place, to show that grace and demonstration to each other that we are worthy and that we have place. This is our time for action. We spend so much time being small for a world that won't accept us how we are. This month is where we get to be our authentic selves. Be who you are, love who you love. Support and value those around you. We are human. Embrace all that humanity has to offer. So thank you for joining us here on this day, June 1st, the kickoff to Pride. But remember, this isn't just rainbows and parties and fun. This is love in action. What are we going to do with and for each other to ensure our future and our liberation? For all of those who are working here, all of you out here, I see your faces. I know how hard you work. I've been to a few bars where I've seen how hard you play too. And that's all right, because if you work hard, you gotta play hard. But now is the time that we put in that work together. We cannot let them divide us. It is only through our togetherness and our strength that we will be successful and that we will take back what is ours, which is our full, authentic selves. Thank you so much. I want everybody to have an opportunity to crank this flag. So I'm going to take the first crank, but then let's line up and do it together. Thank you.
Make sure you get it.